Pittsburgh Steelers' most recent first-round picks, Derrick Harmon and Mike Iheanachor, are lighting up training camp. We'll talk about that today on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Carter of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, bringing you your daily dose of all things on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We got a lot to get into today. We're going to talk about winners and losers of training camp practices, basically now a week into training camp practices. Who haven't we talked about who have stood out or maybe disappointed? We'll also talk about how Mike McCarthy's passing attack continues to mature, especially how he's enveloping the quick passing attack and under center usage to open up other parts of the passing attack that may not have been as fluid in recent years for the Steelers. But the top thing we want to talk about are two guys who I think are standing out in training camp right now, and that's the Steelers' last two first-round picks. Of course, Mike Iheanachor was the offensive tackle this year, and Derrick Harmon. We're going to get into all of that, and to dig into all of that with me here is Nick Farabaugh of PennLive.com. He's here with me. We're still here at St. Vincent College after the Steelers have concluded their sixth training camp practice of the day, and getting right into who our players of the practice were. Well, they're the guys that we're talking about right here. No coincidence here. Both our guys here. I went with Derrick Harmon. You went with Mike Iheanachor. Nick, I want to lead off with Iheanachor here because to me, Derrick Harmon is a guy that we kind of expected to come into this camp with a little bit of fire, a little bit of work. But I wasn't so sure what we'd see out of Iheanachor. I thought we'd see some lightning quick feet, but him getting cooked a lot. And he's gotten cooked here and there. He's lost some reps. But I have been impressed by how good he looked. And today was his second day in a row in pads. And I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, I thought he looked fantastic. Listen, I think Iheanachor has some really fun things about him. You talk about the footwork. There was one where he just mirrored a speed rush from Nick Herbig. And I mean, do you know how hard that is to do? Nick Herbig is so explosive. Did the same thing to TJ Watt.
Yeah.
Sawyer tried to get him with a power move, and he anchored down and reset his hands. I thought that was really impressive. TJ Watt got him yesterday on one where he kind of buckled his knees. And I counted that as a loss because that he would have been right in the quarterback's lap.
Yeah.
But I love the ability to learn and grow from that. The power stuff's going to be the concern. It's the hand usage because he's going to get wide with his hands and open his chest so you can work through him. You're not going to beat him with speed, though. He is so quick and fast. I actually thought the most impressive rep was yesterday against Alex Highsmith. He overset, and Highsmith tried to get him inside, and he mirrored him perfectly. He's just so quick, and he's really got this fleet footwork from that basketball background, that soccer background that we see. But he's also, I thought we saw in the team run period today, there was a play where he really cleared out a lane for Caleb Johnson. He's got an aggressive streak about him. He's not just this, you think, oh, the background, maybe he's not got this physicality, this aggressive streak. He's got a mean streak in his game. I think there's so much to like about Mike Iheanachor just because I think he has so much more room to grow. The hand usage is nowhere near ready, and he already looks decent. I mean, he's beating TJ Watt. He's beating Nick Herbig. He got Alex Highsmith. He's getting Jack Sawyer with pretty easy repetition, and he's doing it so well. This is what he did at the Senior Bowl. We were at the Senior Bowl, and we saw him do the same thing in Mobile, but he's now doing it to guys with higher resumes than those guys down in Mobile. I think it's so impressive to watch Mike Iheanachor work, and so he's got that raw label. I understand it. I think a lot of, if he's ready to play, is going to come down to how he handles power. The Steelers don't necessarily have a true power rusher on this roster, so we might not see it as much until the preseason, depending on the matchups they get. But, I mean, he's putting a good foot forward here to maybe put his hat into the ring to say, I could be the week one starting right tackle.
I think that's certainly part of what you could be looking at here if things keep going this way. Now, Nick, I will say this. I don't think Dylan Cook is exactly stunk up the joint either. Like, he's out there doing pretty solidly. Broderick Jones is still working more with the second team. He's still getting his strength back. So we really haven't gotten to see Broderick Jones really work with the ones a lot. But Mike Iheanachor is getting rotated in more and more with the ones, which is a little encouraging, I think, in my opinion, because I came in thinking this guy is going to be raw. I love his footwork, but man, he's going to need his hand placement. There's going to just be times where he falls for different pass rush moves. He's going to get lost, but he has not looked lost in these first 2 days in pads. I will also say this. I do think some of the defense is going 75%. because I think that's part of by design in McCarthy's practices. The defenses aren't really going all out, and that's kind of interesting to see. We did see our first little close to dust up today. There was a little bit of back and forth. Sebastian Joseph Day tried to win against Mason McCormick, but when he made a move to the outside, he bumped into Troy Faltanu, and he told him to get out of his way, and then there was some barking, and then Keanu Benton got involved, and then DK Metcalf comes out of nowhere, and he's talking to Metcalf. So there was some competition in that, and there was some feistiness there, but all in all, in that, I thought I was really impressed by Max Iheanachor, who handled himself well. But the other guy who handled himself well in my player practice is Derrick Harmon. And Derrick Harmon, he was pretty good yesterday too. I just thought that Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier were the better ones of those. But Derrick Harmon, his power is just so evident. When he explodes off the ball, when he gets his hands on your chest, he is such a problem. And now I got to talk to him after practice. I caught him outside the Steelers cafeteria, and we got to talking, and he was telling me, he's like, look, I recognized that I had power moves, but I recognized I needed to build more off those power moves, and I needed to work in my finesse moves. And if he's able to switch and combine and kind of artistically design times where he sets up a power look and goes into a finesse move, that's the stuff that can be true nightmares for offensive linemen.
Yeah, I mean, we knew about the run defense, and he was wrecking the run periods today, and
wrecking
them. I mean, there was, I think, the second play of it where he just swallowed a double team and stopped it. There was one play where it looked like they were going to run to the left side, and then it looked like Rodgers audibled it to run away from Derrick Harmon, which I think is just emblematic of the type of run defender he is. But I do think the pass rush stuff is the key here to going from really good to, one of the top players in the league here. He is so powerful. He's leaner to this year. I think he's cut off a little bit of fat, probably a little bit more muscle on the frame. So he's even stronger than he was a year ago. We talked about getting the get off with him, right? That's the big thing. Can he get his hands into guys' chest faster? That's going to be the real key thing to watch, because I think we saw at times he did it today. I think at other times when he was stymied a little bit, maybe one slowly, that's what happened. He got off the ball a little too slowly. And even though he has 34.5-inch arms, sometimes those guys like McCormick, for example, who's just such a stout player, are just able to kind of stymie you and be almost a blockade. And I think with Harmon, he showcased an ability to get his hands in people's chest and drive them back today. I thought that was really good. The long arm was working really well in the one-on-ones. He looks like he now has a cross chop. Looks like almost like Keanu Benton's. Keanu Benton obviously has that cross chop. So that's kind of new to his repertoire if you talk about finesse moves. So it looks like he's added to the bag. He looks leaner. He looks like someone that is still in transition of fully figuring out the skill set and how to maximize it. But let's be real here. This is such a high floor football player, and you saw him just absolutely swallow up the team run period in every way possible, and really, really encouraged.
Very encouraging, as will be, I think, Steelers fans when they hear Sebastian Joseph Day, who we got to catch up with after practice. And I started pestering him about the young defensive linemen. I asked him about Derrick Harmon, but then he voluntarily went into Keanu Benton to Y.A. Black. At one point, he said, I call Y.A. Big Black Man is what he calls them. But I want you guys to listen to how he refers to this group and how he talks about the future of this defense if this young defensive line core of Harmon, Benton, and Black continue to mature. Here's Sebastian Joseph Day after practice when we caught up with him.
Yeah, I just think, the sky's the limit for him. Long, tall, athletic. You can see he's really trying to work that edges. He's doing a really good job. Again, the sky's the limit for all those guys. And New's so quick, plays with a real low center of gravity, good hands, strong hands, always on the steering wheel. You rarely see his hands outside. Honestly, it's so cool because when I was at the Rams, I was an undersized nose too, and seeing him play, it's so good to see it because everyone thinks you got to be like this 360 mammoth of a man to play that position, but no, it's really just skill set and just technique and being a technician. And I feel like he does such a great job. So also he'll rush the edge. He does a great job rushing on edges. So and like I said, he's a wall man. Black man, my boy Black is just a wall. I mean, you're not moving him, and he does such a good job, man. Comes to work every day. These guys, again, I'm excited. Y'all should be excited. But I'm an old man. Hopefully I'm here for a while. But the future is bright for y'all for a very long time with those three. So, yeah.
The future is bright, which is what I wanted to highlight in my piece that I wrote in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette about Derrick Harmon, because to me, Benton is exciting. You and I have talked about him, his ability to win as a pass rusher. He needs to be better there. But we've seen Y.A. Black playing a lot of nose, Sebastian Joseph Day playing a lot of nose. Maybe Keanu Benton gets to be more in that 3-tech a little bit more often where he can be comfortable. But to me, all of that does not matter if Derrick Harmon does not become that premier defensive tackle that I think he can be, this team's next Cam Hayward, physically on the field. And who knows, if he could become that spiritually, in the locker room as well, that would be great too. But one step at a time, I think that Derrick Harmon is well on his way this year to being that second-year D tackle this team needs.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously came in as such a high floor player. And I think the object of Derrick Harmon was he's such a high floor player while also having upside. You don't find a lot of guys like that where they got him in the 20s. And that was kind of the special value of getting him because he has such natural tools. We talk about the natural power, the length.
Yeah.
I mean, he has all of these things, a hot motor. He has so much working in his favor. There's just the polishing in the pass rush department. He was an instant spark plug as a run defender. He's going to be an even better run defender this year. And that's the crazy thing about Derrick Harmon. I think he's going to be better as a run defender.
That's nuts.
And so, I think this guy at his peak, could be a top 10 defensive lineman in the National Football League. Even if he doesn't reach his ceiling, we could be talking about a guy that's almost similar to Grover Stewart. And Grover Stewart with the Colts, one of my favorite players in the league, honestly, just because one of the best run defenders in football, not a complete zero as a pass rusher either. And I think Harmon, if he can get you 4 to 5 sacks a year, give you premier run defense, I mean, you'll pay for that every day of the week.
That was Aaron Smith for quite a long time. Aaron Smith wasn't some elite pass rushers, but he was one of maybe the best 3-4 run defensive end of his time. And that was, and if the Steelers are getting that out of Derrick Harmon and they don't even get the pass rush stuff, that's still a great asset. But we talked about this, you and I talked about him when we were leading up to the draft last year. He led in college football, interior defensive lineman with 49 pressures during the regular season. The next closest guy was 10 pressures off. If he's able to ramp that up in the pros, he's going to be a problem. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about this passing attack and get your take on it because we got Aaron Rodgers and Pat Freiermuth talking about how things are looking different under Mike McCarthy and whether or not it will be better. We'll talk about that next year on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Nick Farabaugh. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you, support today's episodes come from Square. Behind so many of the local businesses people visit every day is Square. It's a platform designed to help businesses sell, manage, and grow. Whether it's a neighborhood coffee shop or a packed sports bar on game day or your favorite restaurant, Square brings payments, banking, and more together in one connected system. It helps business owners spend less time managing technology and more time focusing on their customers. Square isn't just a payment processor. It's a complete business platform built to simplify the day-to-day. From accepting every major payment method to managing inventory and helping businesses access their earnings faster, Square gives owners the tools they need to run their business with confidence. It's the little things for me, like when a restaurant is slammed, but the staff never looks stressed, or when checkout is fast, no matter how busy it gets. You're not waiting around, nothing feels chaotic, and it just feels organized. That kind of experience usually comes from having Square keeping everything connected in the background. If you're starting a business or running that one that deserves better tools, Square helps you sell, manage, and grow without slowing down. Right now, you can get up to $200 off Square hardware at square.com/go/lockedonnfl. That's SQUARE.com/GO/LOCKEDONNFL. Run your business smarter with Square. Get started today. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here with Nick Farabaugh of PennLive.com. Nick, let's get into the Steelers passing attack a little bit, and I want to lead off with what Aaron Rodgers said. Back when he first reported into training camp, we got to ask him a little bit about what he's excited for this passing attack, because this passing attack does look different. And one of the things you're seeing is something that Aaron Rodgers is familiar with, something he thinks is vital to using the West Coast offense, that's playing more under center. Here was Aaron Rodgers last week when we asked him about that.
Aaron, Mike has a history of his teams throwing at the highest rates on first downs
in the NFL. That's a change of pace for what the Steelers have been recently. What are the key elements that you guys need to achieve to make that and be one of those better teams at throwing on first down?
We got to be under center. We got to be under center and get the action game going and the movement game going. So, but it starts under center. I think some of the best offenses in the league are not shotgun happy. They're not too shotgun happy. Obviously, in third down, you give me a shotgun. But the more you can be under center on first, second down, I think is really important to being efficient on those downs as well.
Now, Nick, talking with Aaron Rodgers about that and him bringing it up, I think that's important to note, in the Steelers, and we'll get to what Pat Freiermuth said about the quick passing attack, but I wanted to get your sense of what have you seen about them using under center and what it opens up for what they want to do, especially when they want to set up those more standard early down passes?
Well, I think the whole idea is open up the middle of the field, that 10 to 15-yard area. And really, I think it's for one player, and it's for number 4. DK Metcalf needs to be weaponized in every way possible. And the best way to do that is to get him moving, getting on a moving target, and just using his speed once he gets there. That's how you get explosive with DK Metcalf. Yeah, you can throw the ball down the sideline, but we know that that's low percentage throws. If you can get him a dig route 15 yards in and just let him go, he's a locomotive. I mean, it's hard to catch him. It's hard to tackle him.
Yeah.
That's really where you're looking for. It's also, sure, you can get Darnell Washington and Pat Freiermuth off that action. It's also just really good in the red zone. I think we saw that a little bit today, where they can pull it out in the red zone. And I think we saw at least 4 or 5 touchdowns from all the teams total, where some play action crosser, some play action corner route, got touchdowns today. Roman Wilson caught one. Max Hurleman caught one.
Yeah.
A really good throw from Mason Rudolph to Ben Skoranek as well off one. You can just do a lot of different things, but those crossing routes are really important. And I think you're seeing Roman Wilson find himself in that area. I mean, that's exactly what he did at Michigan, right? Play action, crossers. He's just so fast. If you don't get your hands on him, he's going to outrun you. But the real key is think about Aaron Rodgers at this stage in his career, right? This isn't 2021 MVP Aaron Rodgers anymore. His Achilles, definitely sapped some of that mobility. So the one way to do it is take a little bit of pressure off him. Don't put as much pressure on him, and then you can let him use the rhythm, his arm, his smarts, all the things he still has that are superpowers, and you see him pop in those areas. He just looks really confident off play action. It is kind of interesting, back earlier in his career, this is something that he did not want to do. He didn't want to go under center. He was more of a shotgun guy. And when you can go in the shotgun and just dice people up in the drop back game, look at the Rams, right? Matthew Stafford does it all the time. But, you can also look at some of the top offenses he's referring to, guys like, Brock Purdy with Kyle Shanahan, Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen's offense. Whoever the quarterback's going to be in Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell seems to still get productivity out of them because it's a system to a degree. Ben Johnson, what he does in Chicago and Detroit. Like all these guys did under center things, and they married the run and the pass together. And the key is they got a lot of explosive plays to their playmakers that are explosive. And I think DK Metcalf's the obvious one there. If they can open up that middle of the field, I think just for you and me, how many times have we seen them throw up the seam? How many times have we seen them throw a dig? I've never seen them throw this much into the middle of the field this early into camp.
Yeah, it's been very impressive to see how reliable it has been for them. In one of the 2-minute drill that the offense won today, finished with a touchdown pass to Roman Wilson over the middle, but it was set up by Aaron Rodgers, read the situation, Pat Freiermuth, seam, quick ball, and you see how quick Pat Freiermuth's eyes go right back to Aaron Rodgers. That's by design. That's something that they've been working on and trying to get that timing with. And so now that middle of the field is opened up a bit more. Could that involve risk down the line? Sure. But I think what they're trying to do is make it as risk averse as possible to still use the middle part of the field. And I think Pat Freiermuth seemed kind of excited about what they were doing. Here was him when I asked him about the differences in the quick passing attack the Steelers have been developing this year.
I mean, I think that's what Aaron likes, getting the ball out and, working some different concepts and getting reps on that and trying to figure out our base concepts and quick game and middle passing and trying to figure that out and getting the details on that.
And so part of what Pat Freiermuth was getting there too is that Aaron Rodgers likes that variety. And what you're seeing here, Nick, is, a lot of times in Arthur Smith's offense, you saw the quick passes were often the dump offs, or they were the pop passes, the screen passes, but there weren't as many designed different ways to say, hey, we're going to hit you with this slant here versus this stick pattern over here, this stick concept over here, or you're going to hit you with this hitch here. And then we're going to hit you with that seam over the middle. We're going to open up. We're going to force these different concepts to eventually you to concede either A, right in the middle part of the field, or B, this part in the sideline that makes it easier for Aaron Rodgers to decipher, hey, I'm going where they're not. Bang, I'm making this quick decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I do think the screen game is very significant to this
It
offense.
is.
It's a big extension of the run game that Mike
Mhm.
McCarthy loves to use. I mean, we saw that today. We saw Metcalf. Weegan got a jet sweep today. I think Roman caught
I saw a
screen.
jet sweep to Kate Weege, and I was just
Yeah.
like, where's Matt Canada?
Yeah, right. I mean, but this is Mike McCarthy kind of doing what he did. I mean, look at how he used Kevontae Turpin out in
Mhm.
Dallas. I mean, he just gets his playmakers the ball in space. And so that's one way to do it. The other way, though, is to get it with guys on the move. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the big thing is I thought really a lot of the offenses the Pittsburgh Steelers have utilized are so static. And Mike McCarthy's offense isn't static. These guys are catching the ball on the move. They're maximizing the ability to get yards after the catch. I think that's something. Drag routes, crossers,
Mhm.
over routes, slants, all these things. And then you have your options, underneath. I mean, Michael Pittman Jr. has caught about 20 curl routes already in this camp. And he's kind of your underneath guy. That's your sure-handed player. But the quick game is going to be a massive part of this because as Muth, I think, kind of referred to, that's just Aaron's style of play right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter kind of what they do. Aaron Rodgers is going to get the ball out really fast. They're going to be very low in time to throw. And so you're going to see it. And you're probably still going to see balls to the flat. We've seen plenty of them just where they dump it off because it's such a big part of what they do. And I think you think about Dowdle in space, you think about Warren in space. You want those guys with the ball in their hands. But I do think you see a lot more movement across these route concepts to where guys are catching it on the run. It's not a static route tree anymore. There's option routes. There's different things they can do based on leverage. And so it's a lot more variable to the coverage, and it's going to give them a lot more answers.
I agree. It's part of what they need more answers for that passing game because, again, this is going to be an offense that's predicated on the pass game. If that quick passing attack is going, the deep passing attack is opening up. The run game is opening up. And then you're balancing. And then that's where you keep a defense so on its heels. Then you're dictating the pace of play. It's what the Steelers have wanted to do for so many years. And now I think with Mike McCarthy, you're starting to see the bones of it. We still got to see it come in actual competition. Again, most of practice is still very much walkthroughs. It's funny. I got to talk to Bryant McFadden, former Steelers cornerback, for both Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin, and he was also like, "This is different. Like I'm not used to it." And he was telling me how he'd seen the Niners, the Seahawks, and the Rams just this past week, and he was like, "No one's doing it like this." So I thought that was kind of interesting to hear that from him. And overall, Nick, I'm just still intrigued to see, like, how does this play out? Does this turn into success and continuity and just fluidity of this offense? Because if it does, it's a new day for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that could be the very factor that turns them from a team that's struggling to win the division, struggling to make the playoffs, to a team that feels confident going into January and saying, "Hey, you know what? We're not scared about give us whoever we want. We're going to come out of the first round of the playoffs with a win."
I think it all comes back to one of Mike McCarthy's Steelers 6. It's the big plays.
Mhm.
Explosives. How do you work a quick game offense because your quarterback's 42, going to be 43 years old, and doesn't want to get hit? How do you work that while still being explosive? I think that's a tough balance. I mean, that's not an easy ask for a coach. Aaron Rodgers still has many things he works with, but getting the ball out quickly is just going to be natural. You don't want him to get hurt. And so holding the ball longer is naturally going to lead to that. And so he's going to try and find this balance of, okay, how can you get the ball quickly and how can you get explosives? There's really 3 ways to do it, right? You throw it out quick and one guy makes a play. We saw that a few times last year.
Mm-hmm.
Second way is, how about we get under center and go play action? And those big routes are out in 2.4 seconds at most. I mean, they're quick, but they can be explosive plays. And then the third way you can do it is, how can you maybe try and unlock, not necessarily a deep passing attack, but how do you unlock out a drop back passing game that 20 to 25 yard area? How do you unlock that 20, 25 yard crosser? We've seen them try to do all 3 of those things, Chris, and it's all in an effort to try and make this offense explosive. It's the biggest question I still have with the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. They're going to run a quick passing game. We know that. They're going to have a pretty diverse run scheme. How are they going to be explosive? If they're not explosive, it's not going to be a top 10 offense. We've talked about that. How do they make a top 10 in offensive efficiency and score points per game? They got to be explosive. That's the biggest thing.
Agreed. That's got to be a big key. Well, we'll talk about explosive players at training camp, both positive and negative. We'll give you our winners and losers. We've been going over our players of practice, but there's been a lot of other players who've had their positive moments and their negative moments. We'll get to those guys next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter, Nick Farabaugh, stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp has been a widely used online therapy platform, and today the focus is on why so many people continue to choose it. If you're curious, you can actually see what people are saying by visiting betterhelp.com/reviews, where real customer reviews are updated every day. BetterHelp has an average live therapy session rating of 4.9 out of 5, based on more than 1.7 million client session reviews and the hearing directly from people who have used the service. It helps paint a clearer picture of why so many continue to recommend it. More than 6 million people globally have used BetterHelp. To get started, you answer a few questions, get matched with a licensed therapist based on your needs, and if it's not the right fit, you switch therapists at any time. BetterHelp therapists have at least 3 years and 1,000 hours of hands-on experience, along with the required education, training, and certifications. When you hear the impact BetterHelp has on real customers, it shows that these are real people getting real help with real challenges, and that's what BetterHelp is all about. See the reviews, see what stands out, and see if BetterHelp is right for you. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon. That's betterhelp.com/lockedon. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here with Nick Farabaugh of PennLive.com. Nick, I'm going to go back over our players of the practice so far through this season and kind of go over the guys that we have talked about. And then I want us to talk about players we haven't talked about. So my first player practice of practice number 1 was Asante Samuel Jr. I thought he did a really good job defending, showing that, hey, even with Joey Porter Jr., they have some guys who can cover on the outside. Day 2 was DK Metcalf. Him and Aaron Rodgers really lit up that training camp practice. Thought that they really showed their connection that was growing. Then day 3, I wasn't there, so you said Jaquan Brisker for day 3 was the glorified walkthrough, but you got to see his command of the defense. Alan Saunders said Jeremy Bernard for his involvement with the first team offense. That was cool. We practice number 4, which was last Saturday. That was more of a serious practice. You had Pat Freiermuth, heard that he was getting a lot of catches that game, and then Alan brought it back to Asante Samuel Jr. again. So another really good one for him there, getting a second player of the practice nomination here. Then for Monday's practice, I had Zach Frazier. Alan Saunders had Mason McCormick, the interior offensive lineman of the Steelers, standing out there. Then for today's practice, of course, as we said at the top of the show, I had Derrick Harmon. You had Max Iheanachor. So that's a lot of player names. And all over the field, you got interior offensive linemen, interior defensive linemen, tight ends, corners, receivers, safeties. So a good mix of players here. So I want you to give me a name of a player who you think has stood out to you in a positive way that we haven't mentioned in that list.
Does it have to be a player?
I was going for one, but fine. Give me a non-player.
Patrick Graham.
Okay.
That's what I want to talk about, because I think his scheme has showed up so much. They're doing so much.
They are doing a lot.
They're blitzing 6 and 7 men.
Mm-hmm.
They're dropping the outside linebackers. I mean, TJ Watt drops out of a basically a weird blitz look out of the slot and picks off Aaron Rodgers, I believe, on Saturday. Just crazy to see it. So Patrick Graham, big winner. I love the new looks defense. It's some of it's new look, some of it's not. TJ Watt is actually blitzing on other sides.
Yeah.
And I think he's finding out he got some moves on the right side. He has a beautiful spin move.
Yeah.
So I guess TJ Watt can be in here too as a winner, honestly, because he's pushing himself to be uncomfortable. And so I've just been really impressed by Patrick Graham. There's not a lot of miscommunications. They seem pretty dialed in.
That's very impressive.
Deshaun Elliott was talking about that today. There's not a lot, goes with Jaquan Brisker kind of being the communication hub. But I wanted to start with Patrick Graham because I think I've been so impressed by him basically being the head coach of this defense. He's doing a pretty good job.
I think he's done a pretty good job too. One thing I was noting, it is hard for me to predict on the sidelines where guys, when they're lined up, where they're actually going in the secondary, which is what you want. Because if it's hard for me to predict as a person not competing in that moment, it's going to be hard for quarterbacks to predict that too, who are looking at that defense. Okay, so you gave your pro, you went Patrick Graham / TJ Watt. I think those are good picks there. Certainly Patrick Graham's done a pretty good job there. I'm going to go with a young guy here who I think is fighting for his job and maybe even his career, and that's Roman Wilson. I think Roman Wilson has stepped up. I'm not saying that he is definitely the wide receiver 3 just yet. I still think Jeremy Bernard, we put him as a player of the practice. I think he's very much in that contention. But Roman Wilson has not faded away into just the nothingness of what it could have been, because this team traded for 2 wide receivers in the last year and a half, and they drafted a guy in the second round. A lot of guys might take that as a sign of defeat and just say, you know what, I tried. I'll just wait until I get to another team. But Roman Wilson isn't doing that. He's not backing down. He's making plays. Caught a touchdown in both the red zone and the 2-minute drill today. I think both from Aaron Rodgers even. So I was I've been genuinely impressed. And it's not just that. He's been doing it in different parts of the field. He's been winning here and there. Now, I will say, I think his route running still needs a bit of work. There was an out and up that he tried on, I think it might have been Asante Samuel, and Samuel just saw it the whole way. That's not his game. But his game is, if I can get a step on you, I can get past you and I can win there. And one of his one of those touchdowns was a quick slant where he kind of just got one step on Jamel Dean, and that was all he needed. That, to me, is what Roman Wilson needs. He needs more plays where he can use one quick step, one quick move, and bang, he gets into his speed, and then it's hard to catch him, because once he gets there, if you lead him and he catches the ball, now you got a fast guy who runs in the 4.3s, moving pretty fast.
Yeah, he's been really good. I'm surprised he's not on the winners list. He's had a really good camp.
I was saying he is on the winners list.
Yeah, no. I mean, on the player of the day.
He's
had some worthy practices.
He was close.
That.
He was close today, in my opinion.
He's had some practices where he's been really good. I do think early on you saw some of the miscommunication pop back up between him and Rodgers, and I think the last 2 days they've been really in sync. Today was the best that connection's ever looked. Mm-hmm. I have never seen a better day with those two. Really in sync. We're seeing the splash. I think early on it was just he's catching this out route. He's catching this dig. He's catching these drag routes. It was a lot of he would catch 10 balls of practice, but there was not a lot of explosiveness to it. Today we saw the spark come out. And I just think, Roman Wilson's having a really good camp, especially out of that slot position. He really has been trusted by Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's really good for him, man. He is someone that obviously has natural talent. I also think, one thing Mike McCarthy's doing well is they're hunting free releases for him. Mm-hmm. They're getting him in stacks. They're getting him in different looks, motioning him around, trying to get him free so people can't get their hands on him. And it's a really good defense to practice that against, because Patrick Graham has these guys up in their face trying to press them, and they're just hunting free releases for Roman. And as I said, he's so fast. But the thing that makes Roman so special isn't just his speed, it's the instant acceleration. He gets to 0 to 100 in 2 steps. I mean, he's gone. And so if you can't get your hands on him and he's running a crosser, good luck. You're not catching him. So I think that's the special thing about Roman, and we're starting to see the way in which he can be utilized. I'm not saying this guy, is going to be a wide receiver 2 or anything, but he can definitely be a useful player for them.
Okay. All right. So we talked about 2 winners of practices through the first basic week here. Give me a person. I don't like calling people winners and losers. I did it because I couldn't fit what I wanted here in the screen a bit more in the background. But give me a person who you think hasn't had the best start to camp and does need to step it up based off of what's expected of them.
I don't even know if he needs to step it up. I just think he's being phased out, frankly. Malik Harrison. I don't. He's playing with the third team.
Yeah.
Cole Holcomb's taking.
We haven't seen him.
Right. Cole Holcomb's playing over him. Taking his role from last year, which was the early down run guy.
Peyton Wilson's, I think, actually also he had a really good block shed today that I thought was really solid.
He did, and Cole's mixed in there a good bit, and Carson Bruder's running ahead of him on the second team now too. I mean, Malik Harrison, when they split into those 11-on-11s, he's with the third team on the other side, running with Jacoby Windman. I mean, this is not a good sign. He's not even. I went through the kick return team and the kickoff team. Mm-hmm. He's not even on the starting special teams units. It's Cole Holcomb out there.
Not a good
Carson
sign.
Bruner. I mean, listen, they could save $5 million by cutting him essentially, and they have potentially 2 extensions that could be big money extensions in Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton that are going to somehow have to fit into the cap. I mean, this is an ominous sign for Malik Harris. I just think it is. And so he's a guy that I have to highlight in the losers, because it's clearly a guy that's fallen down the depth chart with a new staff. And I'll be real, how many team reps have you actually seen 39 out there for? I haven't seen him out there much.
There was there was one big hit that he delivered on the first day of padded Monday, as far as the first day of padded practices, and I was like, oh, there's Malik Harrison, because that was funny. I saw 39, and I was like, when did Minka get so big? But I was just like, wow, okay. But you're right. Outside of that moment, I haven't really noticed him. So certainly, I think that's fair to put him there. One guy here who this might be a little unfair to him, because they haven't had as many competitive periods to show what he can do. But I'm going to put Jamel Dean on this list because I think Jamel Dean has gotten beaten a few too many times for my liking. If I was expecting a guy to step up as the number one corner when Joey Porter Jr. is not available, I haven't seen him take things over. And in fact, he gave up back-to-back touchdowns, one to Roman Wilson, one to DK Metcalf in those red zone drills. And granted, it doesn't mean he's cooked, doesn't mean he's bad. I don't think this is Darius Slay level of where he's at. He also came back in that 2-minute drill and broke up 2 passes where there were 2 times where he jumped the pass and was able to knock it down. So he's had his moments. But I haven't seen that Jamel Dean version from the Buccaneers that looked so good on tape, that had such great coverage numbers and was just taking away a side of the field. And if he's not that, it's going to put – I think that could ruin their plans for what they want to have, where Joey Porter Jr., he doesn't give up scores. Jamel Dean, he doesn't give up scores. So you got to work in this middle where Patrick Graham is drawing up all this organized chaos. And if that's not the case, it could kind of put it won't stop it, but it could really – I think hinder or limit that organized chaos that Patrick Graham wants to have.
Listen, he's had a lot of up and down seasons in Tampa. I mean, he's had seasons where he's like last year, and then there's other years where he struggled. I mean, this is not a guy that's been sterling his whole career. A lot of injuries on that resume too.
True.
But I do think Jamel Dean, I think he's going to be fine. I'll say this. I think a lot of his struggles have been DK Metcalf making some alien
DK
catches.
Metcalf has been just a bad man.
So I think Jamel Dean's okay.
Yeah.
I don't think – he doesn't look cooked. His speed's
like
there.
I'm saying, he's not
like,
washed.
right.
Like no one's saying that. I just think
Like,
I haven't seen him step up.
I've seen 2 washed corners come through Pittsburgh. I've seen Patrick Peterson and I've seen Darius Slay. All right. Chris, you and I could tell both those times. Where's the speed?
Yeah, we were
Where's
like,
the athleticism?
he better be the best technician corner I've ever seen.
They better be playing a lot of half field because he needs to be playing, quarters and all that. And then they did not run quarters at all with Slay.
Right.
Dean is someone that absolutely has his athleticism. He's, I think, looked physical. I actually was pretty impressed with him in some of the run defense drills, coming down and giving some pop in the run game. He's very willing. That's obviously he's one of the best tackling corners in football, so not a surprise there. But I do think that right now he has struggled a little bit, but I'm not going to panic on that. I also think,
the thing, we're not panicking here.
Right.
It was practice number 6 of a long training camp. These are just our early notes here, and again. Notes one day aren't the big picture. The big picture is stacking up all the days, and that's why we keep giving you your players of practice all season long or all training camp long, because we want to get you a sense here of who the guys are that are standing out to us more and more as each practice rolls on.
Yeah, you want to do a few rapid fire winners and losers?
All right, rapid fire. We got to get out of here.
I got 2 winners I want to highlight.
All right,
Caleb Johnson.
Okay,
I think he's done a nice job on special teams and as a receiver. And then the other guy I really want to highlight, Rayshawn Jenkins through 2 days is vocal. He's already taken over as the communication hub as the second team defense. Wildly impressive to me. You could tell why he kind of commands himself as a veteran. Very intelligent person. I think he's going to fit right in there as a nice safety 3-4 type.
Okay, I do like what I've seen about him overall. There was one of the touchdowns where he kind of like realized that was me, where he kind of got lost in communication. But I do think that there is that there's good signs of him. I'll give you a rapid fire guy here that I think needs to show a bit more. That's Caden Weegan.
For sure.
And this also isn't just about his training camp practice. It's about his profile overall. They tried a jet sweep with him today. And it was not great. I mean, it got like 4 or 5 yards maybe, but like that was with the defense being 3/4 speed and not tackling, and he hasn't made a catch downfield. They did some special teams returns today. I think a guy who did win in that was Eli Heidenreich, because every time I see Eli Heidenreich, he's doing something for somebody else.
He had a rep yesterday where they motioned him out of the backfield and basically put him in the B gap.
Yeah,
and he just stunned Azazie Otomewo. And I was like, whoa, Eli Heidenreich, he's a small dude. I mean, putting up against Big O, I mean, that's impressive. So that's something, if he can show some pass pro chops, totally changes the discussion about it.
It does. And then there was a kick return rep where it was kicked to Caden Weegan, and Eli just had to seal his inside man. He went up quickly, boom, just hit, turn. It was perfect form, and Weegan ran right behind him, and you could hear Danny Cross was saying, okay, E, and like that was, I think, a really good sign for them. So there's some more winners and losers of training camp. Steelers practice on Wednesday, but it's going to be a walkthrough and media won't be able to see it. So we'll still be breaking things down here at St. Vincent College. Just be on the lookout for our Thursday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. Nick, thanks so much for joining me here on the show. Let people know they can find you, follow you, get more of your work.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Farabaugh. Make sure to check out the stuff at Steelers Blitz for the YouTube channel and PennLive.com/Steelers for my written.
Absolutely. He's Nick Farabaugh. I'm Christopher Carter of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You can find me on social media at Carter Critiques. Read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, including my story on Derrick Harmon and how the future is looking bright for this young defensive line core. And subscribe to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette for all of our written work there. Find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with more on the Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.